This is Zion, guys. Zion's been here before. Zion's been here before, obviously. If you are new here, you're in for a treat. You are in for a treat. So Zion is going to run us through a whole bunch of stuff today, but more and more and more, I'm getting questions, especially from the people in this group who are growing, about virtual assistants and being able to hire efficiently, right? Because, and I say this all the time, right? Like there are so many agents out there that are paying somebody $30 an hour or a yearly salary that is substantial to do one of two things: to do something that a piece of software can do for $500 a year, or sometimes like free software, or they're paying a lot for something that a VA can do for a lot less and still be providing someone with a really great quality of life. So I think that that's something that we're going to dive into a little bit more, but Zion has a whole friggin' presentation for you guys today, which is super exciting. So I'm going to let him kind of take it away. Of course, as you know me, I will interrupt, I'm sure, and chatter away, but he's used to it. And yeah, so go for it.
Sweet. Thank you so much. All right, let me just share my screen. Oh, where is it? Oh, here we go. Let me know when you can see it.
I see some Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's perfect. So my story began in 2018, and I was actually extremely burnt out from running my company at the time. And I decided that I was going to duck out to Vegas. And it's not this Vegas, it's actually this Vegas. I just needed some time to connect with nature, just needed some space. Because I distinctly remember one day where I woke up and it seemed like my team had literally doubled overnight. And I was like clicking the Zoom windows where I was looking at the arrows, and all of a sudden all the people didn't even fit on one screen anymore, and it was getting kind of crazy. And I remember back then I made one of my hires, and it to this day is probably one of the worst hires I've ever had up until this point. And after we hired this particular individual, it literally set us back from eventually, probably like 3 months or so, right? And to make matters worse, I was working so much, and it put a lot of tension on my relationship. And I remember, I remember having conversations with her where she would say, "Hey, Zion, because you're working all the time, how could you possibly make time for us, right? How could you possibly make time for me?" And, at the time, that was one of the most heartbreaking things that I could hear, because I was just trying to make it all work. And for those of you that don't know, and probably have heard this before, that it's just incredibly challenging, because it just brings you to an incredible sense of hopelessness, right? And eventually things got even worse in the business. It got even more challenging, and it got to a point where we actually had to let go of 30 people overnight. And this was still to this day one of the most challenging things I've ever had to do in business. And then I really had to take a hard look at what didn't work at this time, right? Like, we were one of the fastest growing companies in our industry. And then all of a sudden, seemingly, again, overnight, I just had to shut it down. So when I looked at everything, I realized that there was just so much that I wasn't doing properly. I wasn't creating the right types of systems. I wasn't delegating to people. I wasn't letting go of people fast enough, right? And I was also just holding on to them for way longer than I should. So when I started to learn all the things that I eventually did wrong, and start to really learn all the things that on the right way to scale and the right way to build a business, then eventually I was able to, take some time off, right? So this was on my 30th birthday, where I actually went to Cabo. And, at the time I was running about 6 companies. And, and so going from literally having my company in the gutter to building 6 companies where I had an operations manager in every single one of them. We had leadership teams in every single one of them. And I just, probably worked on each company probably like 1 to 2 hours a week, right? So that really gave me the space to just enjoy my life, right? And what you see in this photo are a lot of my friends, are a lot of my partners, former clients, current clients, and we all just got to spend time and we all got to just spend time together, right? And what I realized in everything that I learned was that all of the work that I did, all of the lessons that I learned, I want to share them with people. And a lot of those things I'm going to be sharing with you because I believe that people really deserve the freedom to live their lives, right? So
where have you heard that before, guys? Like who else says that? Zion. So at this time, just so that you know, I knew Zion as he was going through this entire process. And, he talks about it now and he went through it with a lot of grace, but there was a lot going on.
Oh yeah.
And, it's really important for you guys to recognize the expertise and the experience that happened in a short period of time here. And the learning and the fact that, unlike most entrepreneurs who tend to like cycle through the same mistakes over and over again, Zion did not do that. And everything that he does now has come from the failures and the mistakes and the things that he's learned in the past. And now he's got this great opportunity that he's actually solving the problems that he has faced he's faced previously, which is what true evolution is and what real innovation looks like. So I just wanted to point that out as he moves through to the next part.
Yeah, thank you. I call it my $5 million lesson, although it was certainly more expensive than that, right? So, one thing to note here is that I am not unique, right? I am not the only type of person that goes to this that has this work harder mentality. Because at the time, I thought that if I just worked harder, that I would be able to get everything I need to get done and hopefully have a successful company. But it did the exact opposite, right? Surprise, right? So let me know if this sounds familiar to you. Just drop a comment in the past, and maybe you're experiencing this right now, right? And for you, it might be a bloated team, it might be some leaking cash flow, or you might be so stressed out right now that you might be wondering, hey, why did I even start this in the first place, right? So, and almost every time that I give this talk in particular, there's almost a couple people in the room or a couple people that might be listening that might be feeling this way. And I just want you to know that it's absolutely normal, right? I know, Jess, you and I have been through this cycle a number of times. So, and I share all that because, in the last year, I've made a lot of shifts and really integrated those learnings, like Jess said. And, I did 7 seven-figure launches with different clients. I had 4 private clients, that 2 extra more. Actually, Jess was one of those folks when I was, working with her at the time. I launched 2 seven-figure businesses and 1 6-figure business. And today, we still have 5 companies total in our portfolio. So I want to be extracting out a lot of the lessons that we learned that really made this successful so that we could really share them with you today. So one of our mutual friends, this is one of my favorite quotes from one of our mutual friends. And it really took me through a lot of these different moments, a lot of these different times. So I hope it serves you really well, which is that success does not take time, it takes courage, right? And
I have this on a banner. I have a banner printed with this because I love this quote so much from Alex.
Yeah, and it's so powerful because it just, it reminds me that you just have to lean into the things that are uncomfortable, the things that might be stirring up the fear, because that's the exact reason why it exists. And you can then quantum leap your growth, and and I truly believe that. So with that said, today I will be going into how you can build your team so you can essentially fire yourself from your business, or at least fire yourself from a lot of different things that you might be doing in your business. So if this is something that you're excited about, just type fire right in the comments. And again, I'll come back to that later. So again, this is the fire. So I'm going to be going through the actual fire yourself method. So this is a fun methodology that I came up with to kind of just go through the different processes of how do we really bring on different team members. So the 4 steps to the Fire Yourself method are freedom matrix, which is the what and the when. What you're going to delegate, when you're going to delegate them by, delegate them by. Identification, which is who is going to actually do these things for you. Realignment, which is understand the why, for why anyone would want to work for you. And enrollment, which is the how. How do you actually bring them into your world? So I'm going to go through these as quickly as I can. And really, really excited to share these with you today. All right. So there's going to be a lot of business coaches out there that are going to tell you that when you're starting your business, you're building your business, you're scaling your business, that you have to start with vision first. And my belief is that that's actually not possible for quite a few people when they're in this space, right? In fact, the first thing that you should be doing is actually creating more space so you can really build more awareness, right? So the number one thing—
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
There is this quote that I love from Dan Sullivan, and it's that entrepreneurs that are too tightly scheduled cannot be transformed. And it ties in here so well, because so often, you know, yeah, of course we want the vision to like figure out how to reverse engineer it. But if you don't have space and you're in the business and you are wearing 800 hats, you literally can't see past the stress. You can't see past anything else, which is why I love that quote so much. And this is exactly what Zion's going into here. So you guys have all heard me say this before.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, so what I want to give you is a tool that I have taught so many people, hundreds and hundreds of people, and we call this the freedom matrix, right? Because what people don't realize is if you're building your business so that your business is completely serving you, right? Meaning that you are a slave and a servant to your business, you are literally pulling a pin on a grenade and throwing it into your future so that one day you're literally walking into a ticking time bomb, right? So let me know if that resonates, right? There's so many people that I see doing this where one day, everything that you're doing right now will blow up in your face one way or another. So I want to go through this matrix, but before I do that, I want to warn you, because when I show people this exercise and you actually go through this exercise and you actually start having awareness over the different parts of what it is that you're actually doing each day, you can't unsee it, right? You will literally start becoming allergic to certain things and not be able to do them again in the future. So before that, I'm going to give you this framework. So the first part of this framework is the things that you don't like and you're not good at. The next part are the things that you don't like and you are good at. Next part are the things that you like and you are good at. And finally, the things that you love and you're great at, right? So what we're trying to do is take a complete list of every single thing that you're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and we're going to categorize them into one of these categories, right? So the thing that you can do, right after this talk, or even while you're listening to this, is just jot down some of the things that you do on a daily basis and start moving them into the different categories. And then what's really exciting about this is it also gives you a roadmap for what you should delegate when, right? And it's going to be in exactly this order. So the biggest difference between the things that you love and you're great at and the things that you like and you're good at is one question, which is, are you the only person in your organization that can actually do this or not? So the idea is that we want to go and score these things, and you want to make sure that you are in category number 4 as much as possible. And we want to get you completely out of category number 1. And if you're noticing that you have a bunch of things in category number 2, it's actually a really good place to be, right? And the reason is because if you're good at the things, then at least you can teach someone else how to do them. And oftentimes there's a lot of people that start off really, really enjoying a lot of things, and they just do them over and over and over again until they eventually end up in this category, right? And for some people that might be, sales calls or, whatever else fits in that category. So again, this is the order by which once you come up with this list, that you're going to start to delegate them off your plate, right? So the things that you're not, the things that you don't like and you're not good at, things that you're competent in, and then so on and so forth. Make sense? Cool.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, give me a thumbs up. So this is one of my clients who was in Cabo with me. Her name is Danielle Leslie. And after going through this framework and starting to delegate things off of her plate, she had her first 7-figure launch while she was working less than 10 hours a week. And
so if I can tie this back into real estate just for 1 second, because
yes.
I think that like everybody here is probably thinking, well, the model is different and like that's not possible in real estate. Well, the truth really is it's actually easier to scale in real estate than it is to scale in course or training or coaching. And so it's actually the opposite, the way that most people think, because when you have a proper system built out or you have a proper methodology, which we talk about all the time, it actually leads everything into the systems and the standard operating procedures that you need in order to create scalability in the real estate space. So if that kind of that objection came up in the back of your head where you're thinking like, oh, well, this isn't the same industry, I would actually tell you that, having worked in both industries, having scaled big businesses in both industries, it is actually a lot easier to scale in real estate than it is in the coaching space.
Yeah, and I've given this exercise to people in every single industry that you can imagine, and of course, including real estate. And I can promise you that today, there are definitely things that you're doing that you shouldn't be. So I want to introduce another distinction to you, and it's different framework. And the first question that I want to pose to you is, why are there some people that are growing by leaps and bounds, while other people are seemingly going a lot slower, right? And it's this simple framework. So there's a lot of people that work by themselves. And of course, if you're working by yourself, then you can move 1 unit by 1 unit, right? So you have to do every single thing in your business, so you're only able to move 1 unit by 1 unit. And maybe, and then the difference is that the companies that you see that are able to grow so much faster than you are able to grow by a unit of 10 by 10, right? Because they literally have support. So all the things that you are working on a day-to-day basis, imagine if you're able to take off 80% of those things and give them to another person. That allows you to focus on the most important things in your world, right? So this is the biggest reason why certain people don't grow and why certain people don't. And you can also apply this framework to the types of people on your team. Because if you have certain people on your team where you have to give them something, then you have to check in. Then you give them another thing, and you have to check in. And you give them another thing, and you have to check in. That's, again, going 1 unit by 1 unit of your time. Versus people that can literally take things 10 steps forward, checking with you, another 10 steps forward, checking with you, and so on. And this is one of the most fundamental foundations of why certain companies scale that much faster than others. Okay, so that was everything from the Freedom Matrix. And now we want to go into who are you actually going to hire? And first I want to kind of break down the org chart. And I want to make this as relevant for everyone here, but typically there's 3 different types of people inside your organization. You're going to have people that can help you build out departments. You're going to have people that can really own KPIs. And then you're going to have people that can really own and move forward tasks, right? And I know for Jess's business and businesses, both on the real estate side, as well as in her coaching business, she's had people in each of these different levels, which is why she's able to get the level of success that she has. So hopefully, if you're watching this, at the very least, your next hire will be a virtual assistant. So with that, this is, again, based on the different levels of seniority, is that an EA or a VA will usually follow process, and sometimes they'll actually help you create process. Operations manager will definitely create the processes, and a COO will help you grow and lead your team. And I give this advice to pretty much every single entrepreneur or service provider or real estate agent that I've ever come across, which is, if you don't have a virtual assistant yet, hire one. It should almost always be your first hire, because the most important asset in your business at this stage is you. And the more you can get taken off your plate, the better. So first hire, always suggest, is the assistant. Excuse me. Okay, so next question is, what do you actually need before you're ready to hire? So what I've actually found is that there's 9 different steps on hiring anyone into your organization. And and I'm sure every single person, if you've hired someone before, you've probably made a bad hire. If that's you, let me know in the comments. Every single business owner has done it if they've ever tried to hire. And if you see how many steps there are in the hiring process, you can see how easy it is to get it wrong, right? There's literally 9 parts, right? First, we develop our role scorecard. I'm going to go into a little bit more of that with you. Then we fill out a job description. We figure out where to source the individuals. Then we go through a 4-step interview process on our side. Then we give them a test project just to make sure that they're a good fit. Then we have a compensation conversation. Then we make sure that they're enrolled in. Then we onboard them. And then after the onboarding, we want to make sure that we're managing for success. So today, we're going to really just go over the scorecard and a lot of other systems that I believe that you can have in your business and that you should delegate in your business, and how to really manage for success. Okay, so in order to create a position scorecard, you want to ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1 is, what are the actual outcomes that you want? So for example, successfully manage X amount of projects, or create systems to sort out 100 emails per day. And what are the competencies that you want? This might be attention to detail. Can they push back? Can they follow processes, and so on? So again, what are all the behaviors and the competencies that you want? And for our virtual assistants, we have about 17 different competencies that we're looking for when we're hiring them. And this is an example of a role scorecard. Happy to drop a template of this in the group for anyone that's interested. But essentially, what we're trying to do is literally map out and design the role, and then interview the person based on this role. So you're completely setting all the expectations, so there's no room for miscommunication and misunderstanding. And one of my top management principles is, you cannot get frustrated over uncommunicated expectations. This is where we're setting those expectations so that we're super clear on literally everything that it is that person's expected to do on a daily, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. So I want to give you some examples of what would be really powerful, especially for a virtual assistant. And before I did that, I want to go into systems, right? So if you're in Jess's group and Jess's world, you've heard her talk about systems quite a bit. But my favorite definition of systems that I've come across is that they save you time, stress. They save you stress, time, energy, and money, right? So
I love that.
Yeah, right? Any system should save you time, stress, energy, and money. And if not, then it's probably not a good system, right? So with that said, these are just some of the things that we recommend when you are building your business to make sure that you can actually get to scale. So if you are a real estate agent, chances are that you have communication that's happening everywhere, whether it's with your client, your teams, and so on. So the first thing that you want to do is unify all your internal communication and your client communication to one platform. So it's super easy for not only for you to track, so that it's also easy for your team to track. And then from there, another thing that we have delegated to virtual assistants is inbox management. We have an entire process for how to actually make sure they're following up with people, filtering people, filtering really important emails, making sure that leads are being followed up on, that if you're already doing a deal, that everyone's getting all the documents that they need, and so on, right? And that's everything with calendar management, scheduling your appointments on your behalf, making sure that everyone is where they need to be. And then, of course, through the entire transaction management process, including coordinating all your open houses, your listings, especially if you have to get photos done, videos done, staging done. An admin, excuse me, a virtual admin can literally help you coordinate all of these things. So, one of the things that we recommend when you're bringing someone into your organization is that you have naming conventions for your organization. So literally in your email, this is an example, right, of something that I made up, but it's literally the address of the property, the name of the client, and then the date that you're supposed to close. That way, if you make this your subject line of every single email for these things, then you literally go to email, search it, and then all the emails popping up for that particular deal comes up. And this just makes everything so much easier for you and your future virtual assistant if you don't have one to actually be able to manage. And this is an example of what we have our admins actually take care of. Well, you would actually fill out and then give to your admin, which is your ideal calendar, right? So I know that a lot of you have children, families, spouses, and so on, and you're managing your family life as well as your work life. So what you want to do is make sure that all these times are blocked off so your admin knows exactly when to schedule appointments for you and exactly when to not schedule appointments for you, when to schedule certain calls for you, and so on. And this literally becomes the foundation for building the rules, so they know exactly how to make sure they can protect your calendar and that you have the ideal calendar so you could be in flow and you're managing everything properly. And this is one of the first exercises that we give people so that they're really on track. And this is an example of, so this is actually built on Airtable, but it's an example of how to manage your different transactions. So again, everyone that comes into our world, we set them up with something like this. If you don't, so I would highly suggest if you don't have a system that manages your transactions so that everyone's on the same page, because there's so many different steps, so many different places where it can go wrong. And you want to make sure that it's really that everyone's on the same page, right?
For anybody who's watching this, in 7FA, like you guys have all of this. A lot of these systems Zion and I worked on together so that we could train these VAs to be able to essentially manage things the way that we want them managed.
I was literally just about to say that hey, if you're in 7FA, you already have access to this stuff. And because we work so closely together with 7FA, we adopted a bunch of their systems to make sure that we can get an admin up to speed on it right away. And so that, and to make it super easy to get an admin up to speed, right? So we already have a lot of these SOPs, a lot of these templates, and we're reworking them. And whenever we onboard new clients, we're always making sure that we have them. But again, if you don't have a system like this in place in your business, I highly suggest you do it, because then everyone's on the same page, right? And it just decreases the margin for error in such a significant capacity. So other things that, other systems that we suggest that you have in the business are making sure that all of your documents, contracts, and paperwork are managed as something like Dotloop, HelloSign, DocuSign. I know that in the real estate space, Dotloop is huge, right? It just makes everything so easy. You know exactly where everything is, you know if they viewed it or not, and so on. And it makes all of the paperwork process so easy, not only for you, but for the client, right? I just recently closed on a property. It was an investment property in Orlando, and the agent was using Dotloop. And I logged in and was like, wow, this is amazing, right? Because it was so easy. Everything I had to sign, I just logged in there. Anything I forgot about, it was all in there, and just made it super easy. If you don't have a file management system that's digital for your company, I would also suggest that you have one, whether it's on, we like to use Google Drive. And again, this makes it super easy for you and your team so that you're all on the same page. Pipeline and CRM management. We have quite a few of the best practices from Follow Up Boss, but your VA can literally help you manage your pipeline, right? Just make sure that the notes are in there, make sure that people are being followed up on, and making sure that everyone gets everything that they need. And finally, And again, these are just some examples, but your VA can help you with all your social media management, right? If you know you need to stay on top of your listings, your closings, and new listings that you have, and just updates to your social, so people just know that you're in action. You're doing, you have lots of different deals that you're moving forward. Like, people just want updates, right? When people know that you're hustling and they can see progress on your different listings, like, they know that, hey, you're someone that can get the job done, right?
So this is something that we talk about a lot, and Zion's making a really good point that so often agents wait until their clients are following up with them instead of having updates automated and going out to them in a systematic way before someone has to follow up with you. When it comes to customer happiness and referrals and just like people who anticipating questions and anticipating the follow-up before it actually happens is the difference between being, a good salesperson and being like a masterful salesperson, right? So this is really important stuff that we're talking about right now.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I love when things happen without me involved. Love it, right? So this is a really funny and awesome example, but so I have a personal assistant at home as well, and I gave her a shopping list, and one of those things on the shopping list was like all these like snacks that I really love. So the issue was that the system actually worked really well, because every time I ran out of one of those snacks, it would just appear back in my pantry. And it got to a point at one point where I told her, hey, like, I just need to remove this out because you are staying on top of this so much that I just can't have you doing this anymore, right? But now, like Jess said, just imagine all these other aspects of your business are moving forward without you ever having to think about it, because the right systems are in place. And once you have them in place and you have all the SOPs and you have everything documented, and SOP stand for standard operating procedures, right? They are the exact recipe for how you want to make sure that you're getting things done in your business. So this is another huge list of things that your VA can do for you that most people probably don't know if they can do for you, right? Everything from website management to content management to managing your YouTube channel to invoicing and taking care of your clients, other aspects of marketing, helping you travel, helping you plan events. We already mentioned social media, different things like graphic design, especially if you have different Canva templates already, editing audio, editing video for you so that you can put up different social posts. I know that we just signed on another real estate agent that wanted videos done because he said, hey, look, I literally only post two videos a month right now, and I'm getting more business than I can imagine. So we want to actually turn the dial up and amplify this so it could happen every day, right? And and again, file document management, data entry and tracking, customer service, online research, basic bookkeeping, accounting, expense reporting, meeting planning, and project management. And this list, honestly, goes on and on, right? So for a lot of people, they don't realize the capacity and the competency of so many of what's actually possible that a virtual assistant can actually take off your plate. And as you can see, it's a lot of different things in a lot of different areas, and it could really free up your time. And as Jess mentioned in the beginning, it's usually at a fraction, when you hire a virtual assistant, especially from overseas, which is where we hire all of our virtual assistants from, you can literally get a fraction of the cost and save yourself quite a bit on that. So, I just want to give you this quick checklist as you're going through all the things that you're doing each day. And it's really a little bit of a stronger question than can you just delegate it, but you want to always ask yourself, can I delegate this? Every single thing that you do in your business, you want to be asking yourself, am I the only person that can do this? The answer is no, then you can delegate it. And if you think the answer is yes, I want you to ask that question to yourself again. And it's like, is that really true? Because there's a lot of people that believe that they're the only ones that can do something, when in reality, there's probably someone else that can do that as well.
In a real estate business, there's pretty much nothing that can't be delegated. Like, there's zero things.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Almost every single part of the process that we mentioned of a real estate business is like, we want you to be able to collect way more of those checks without you having to work harder, right? That's the name of the game here, is to simplify to multiply.
And the other thing that's really important too, that I'm sure is coming up in the back of people's heads right now is like, well, if I delegate so much of my business, then, you know, the level of service is going to drop, or people are going to be upset, when in fact, it's the opposite. If this is done extremely or exceptionally well, your level of service actually increases dramatically. People are getting more value, more service, more support, and you're actually able to handle more people and make them happier than you're able to do on your own.
Yeah. And, you know, I was just, so I just hired an agent to find me a new place in Lisbon, because I'm moving to Portugal. And there was so much work that was happening in the background that I know that she has her team handling. But the one thing that I just appreciate about her is that was interacting with her, right? Imagine the only thing that you had to do was just show faith and interact with your client, and everything else was just done on your behalf. So again, so you want to ask yourself, hey, does doing this process or doing this task right now generate more revenue for me in the business? The answer is no. You should probably figure out how to get it off your plate. So most people are spending too much time doing non-revenue generating activities, or RGAs, and we want to get you doing more revenue generating activities, or RGAs. Do you do this more than once? Right? The moment that you do this more than one time, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annually, there's probably a profit that can be built around it, right? Any single thing in your business that you do more than once, you should document it, create a process around it, and then make sure that you can delegate it so that someone else can do it. And then write out the exact process step by step. And you know, if that document or that SOP is successful, if that person arrives at a result that's just as good, if not better, than how you did it. Simple enough, right? So the last part that I want to go over is recruitment alignment, right? Because there are so many different real estate businesses out there that I believe that this is such an easy way for you to differentiate. And it's really you talking about, well, I'll go into that. And one of those things is vision, right? So back to vision is, so my definition for vision is the change you want to see in the world, right? It's a change that you want to see in the world. So what does that mean? So I want to take you back to London, which is actually where I was born, and the year of 1984 to the Great Horse Manure Crisis of 1894. So what ended up happening was there was 11,000 horse cabs that had 12 horses a day, which means there's 50,000 horses going around London at any time. So a lot of horses means what? There's a lot of horse poop everywhere, right?
It's a lot of poop.
Right. So 50,000 horses times 25 pounds of poop per horse per day was 1.2 million pounds of poop a day. So it got so bad that the Times of London said in 50 years, every street in London will be buried under 9 feet of manure. And of course, this did not happen because eventually the car was invented, right? So, one of the questions that I love asking people is, what do you want to be absurd in 10 years, right? And this is a great question to just look at. What about your industry? Especially as a real estate agent, do you just not, that you think is just crazy that that's the way that it is, right? For me, when I look at real estate agents, and I've worked with really amazing ones and really awful ones. And for you, this could be as simple as, I can't believe that there's agents that can't just answer their phone when I'm telling them I want to, work with them, right? Or a certain level of care.
When I first met Zion, he was like, "You work with real estate agents? Why?" Right. It was just this and over time, I literally convinced him that there were amazing agents in the world. But like when I first met him, I remember the first conversation that we ever had, he was like, oh, wow, like all the power to you.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Because up until that point, I had never worked with a great agent. So the bar is set extremely low in this industry, as all of you who are watching. And if you're in Jess's world, you probably know that already. So, you want to ask yourself, like, why did you start this business? Right? Why did you start this business? And you want it to be enough so that you can also share this with future team members when they come in. It's like, hey, look, I know there's a lot of agents out there. I know there's a lot of real estate businesses out there, but this is why we started things, right? This is the type of person we focus on. This is a type of work that we do here. This is a type of industry, the type of niche, and so on. So for me, right, I believe that it's absurd that entrepreneurs that want to change the world have to beg for money and figure everything out on their own, often sacrificing themselves just to birth their vision to the world. So, I believe that when you're super clear on your why and you're super clear on your vision, again, the change that you want to see in the world, the change that you want to see in your town, right? The change that you want to see for your community. I believe that you have a responsibility to steward the vision, because the vision itself is not yours. It's something that is coming through you. It's something that is coming because it wants to be manifested and created by you, but you get to separate that from yourself and realize that you are just another person that gets to steward this vision. And your responsibility then is to start finding people that also believe in the same things that you do, that also want to steward the vision. And when you're able to take your vision and put it outside of you and treat it as a living, breathing, third-party entity, you start to realize, well, who are the people that I now need? Who are the team members that I need to go find in order to support me so that I can do better work in the world? So the last question that I want to leave with you is, hey, so what's the cost of your vision not fully out there in the world? What's the cost of you not having the right person in your corner in order to support you? And, and I want you to just imagine, right, for a moment, that you live in a complete new reality where you have all the best people that are supporting you. They want to be there because they love what you're doing. They want to be there because they want to serve people the way that you're serving your communities, and that you're making way more money and living in way more abundance while you have time freedom, right? While you have the time freedom so that you can spend more time enjoying the things that you love in your world, enjoying the things that, just really bring you more joy, right? Because it doesn't have to be more work. But with that said, if you have any questions, shoot me an email at zion@atlasassistance.com, and I'm happy to answer them. But that is all I got for you guys today. And
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know this is, the thing that I really loved about this presentation is that a lot of you guys who've seen my 3 steps to CEO training or have come to my delegation trainings, you've seen a lot of these concepts, but Zion and I present them differently. And it's really, really great, because sometimes I think that hearing them in another voice from another angle can be really, really awesome. And he's just literally reiterating all the things that I've been telling you guys to do, which is automate, delegate, get VAs on your team as soon as you have the ability to. If you want to talk to Zion, I highly, highly suggest it, because again, all of our systems that we have that are, in my opinion, the best in the industry, have been shared with Zion, and like we're using them as the framework for the VAs that he's placing. So I really hope this was helpful, guys. If you have any questions about anything, just drop them in the comments. If you want to talk to Zion, just reach out to him. He is amazing and wonderful and friendly and not scary. I used to think he was scary. He's not scary. And I really hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions too, and you even just want to have a quick chat with me, you can send me a DM or you can send me an email. And if I think that you're at a place in your business where a VA could be helpful to you, I will make an introduction to Zion as well, if you want to just have a chat first, if you're not sure if you're ready yet. yeah, want to just kind of put that out there, send me a DM or send me an email at jess@thelistingslab.com. So just, yeah, reach out to me if you have any questions. You can also reach out to Zion or ask any questions in the comments, and we will, we'll make sure that you guys have everything you have. I hope this was helpful.
Sweet.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.